Hello and welcome to Scriptorium. My name is Ernesto. I'll be your host today. So, if you're new to this show, here's a quick rundown. So, we discuss a topic related to life and then relate that to writing and other art forms, whichever is applicable. And so today we're going to be talking about sacrifice. Now, it's the trump card. It's actually one of your strongest tools that you have in your writer's arsenal. Now, sacrifice, like any other word or element, can lose its potency with overuse or misuse. If you're sacrificing characters left and right with no rhyme or reason, then it's basically pointless at that point in time. Now, it isn't mere death as much as impactful as a character's death can be, but the loss of a pivotal character, item, or place. If you kill off your cast too quickly or without much regard to why, like I said, you pretty much defeat you. It's basically a big waste. In fact, it undermines any emphasis you intended for those characters to have in the present or the future, because they just become, oh well, that's nice. You get kind of a mediocre response. Now, the build up before that sacrifice is actually vital, as is the timing. But now, what about the lenses that each character or each viewpoint that each person in the story sees the sacrifice? Like, that's really important to consider, because your audience may be sympathizing maybe with the antagonist, or maybe they want to go classic and sympathize with the protagonist, or maybe they're just reading it as the observer. So it's important to look at it from all angles and to see how it would potentially affect every potential viewpoint. Now, for example, if a sacred artifact is sacrificed in an attempt to stall an antagonist, it can be taken a multitude of ways. To the protagonist, it's a devastating loss to the cause or their culture. It is, however, seen as a necessary catalyst and a reminder of the severity of the mission. And of course, that's something you definitely want to emphasize throughout the story. Not too much, because then it just becomes overly dramatic and just, like beating a dead horse. The from the antagonist viewpoint, it would be a victory, as the enemy is one asset and potentially one person weaker, as oftentimes things of mystical value can be a person, but also an object. When there's sacred or mystical items, the rule book kind of goes out the window. It goes out the window. I'm sorry. Let's see. Now, for the thirdly, there's the there's the observer's viewpoint. So, as they don't really know what the importance of the object is, they really have nothing to go on. So it's important to kind of leave breadcrumbs for people who are not totally invested in the story already or the overall franchise. If you want to get the maximum potency out of the sacrifice element, it really should be a surprise, and it should happen to a key understated element. Understated is important. If it's overstated, then okay, obviously we know what's going to happen. If the situation is like military or paramilitary, then it makes it too easy to figure out what's going to happen or who, or it's usually the most valuable person or the most likable, charismatic person in the story, because that has the most impact. Now, of course, the sentimentality of your characters plays a huge role too, because the more rational they are, they'll see things obviously differently. But if you have a more sentimental character, you're going to get more dramatic value out of that loss of that character or that object. That's where the creativity kicks in. So it really just goes back to your characters. The better your characters, the better your elements will work. Now, if you really want to rattle some cages, you would make it so that no one, or maybe at least only a few people, know the actual value of what was sacrificed. And if you really, really want to make it interesting, you'll make it so that the person who made the shot or called the shot that created the scenario later on figures out exactly what happened. So the power of guilt hits them like a sack of bricks or pillows, depending on the nature of that character. And of course, that character will fundamentally change, and that kind of pushes the story forward. The real and always pertinent question, though, is why sacrifice that element in that place at that time? As anticlimactic as it seems, you as the author should have already planned every detail from the inception of the character to its interaction with other characters or objects. Objects can be sacrificed and still have an impact. The sweet spot is when you present the possibility of a character leaving that world, but you never make it blatantly obvious as to when or why or by what or by whom it gets sacrificed. Now, more importantly, you should also just plan out the reveal. The reveal is pretty much as important as the build-up and as the item itself. If you make it kind of, pop goes weasel, it just kind of, oh, by the way, that died or that's gone. It loses. It's not. And if there's no major reason behind it or it doesn't really do anything, it's not really a sacrifice. It's just kind of a loose element. Of course, the pettiness of why you made the sacrifice is really important too, because there's some characters that I've seen totally get wasted, and they had so much potential, probably more than the main character. For example, longer running series, for example, Naruto. There's some characters that are actually significantly better than the main characters, and they just kind of get nerfed, and that kind of annoys me. But I tend to go for the side characters because for some reason they make them more interesting than main characters, or at least sometimes that happens. And then the main character just kind of gets boring after a while, so you kind of like the side characters better. Now, there is a story where I kind of play around with the concept of the unwitting sacrifice, and that story is called Murder and Roses. There was a reason for the title. It's actually very obvious but hidden at the same time. So now the main question that this story pursues is, how does a seemingly normal person respond to unknowingly sacrificing an innocent person, especially after knowing that they were enjoying the benefits of that person's sacrifice? Now that's a very weird place to put someone, because there's the hedonistic desire to just continue enjoying what you already are reaping, or you can go into white knight mode and try to save the damsel in distress or the person in danger, even though you were the one that put them in danger. So it's kind of a guilt issue, but at the same time, if you didn't know, it's not really guilt, and you're not really held liable for the lack of knowledge. So let me know what you guys think. This is pretty much it for this topic. I don't try to overuse this element in my stories. It's one of those, you don't use your major weapon all the time, otherwise it's not considered awesome anymore. And an element such as sacrificing a character, a city, or a special artifact, really, it's supposed to be the showstopper, the thing that moves the story forward and really changes the direction. If you do that too often, it just kind of doesn't create a flow. It creates a weird flow. So leave a like, comment, or a sub if you want to, as I delve into the endless philosophy known as writing. So if you're looking for more content, including imagery, maybe some short stories, check us out we're on Instagram under I have three different accounts: Studio Mario 1544, Scriptorium, and Modern Iconoclast. So Scriptorium, it's more about characters and writing specifically in the grayscale universe. So that's kind of my main universe, and I have some outside universes, but it's my main squeeze. And Studio Maru is more of a general chat. The Studio Maru Instagram account is kind of more general. And Modern Iconoclast, I kind of look at societal issues. And actually, look, it's moderniconoclast.com is the site. So if you want to check out the content there, I write little mini articles. I guess they're mini articles. You can also look me up on where else am I at? Yeah, okay. Here on YouTube, Instagram, and I'm on Twitter as well. Not a lot of activity on Twitter. Instagram's a little more interesting. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.